Hello everyone, this is just a quick video introducing you to Module 3. Module 3 is the first video where we will cover fiction writing. In this case, we're focused specifically on writing short stories. Short story writing is a little bit different from looking at nonfiction, creative nonfiction like you did in the last unit. So we're focused on how to write a fiction piece, which would be something that has been created in the mind of the author. It's really important to remember that the requirements for the short stories in this class are that they are fiction. They may be based in an experience that you had, however, you are treating it like fiction. So if you decide to write a story based on something that's personal, keep in mind it is not a personal piece. So I do encourage students to kind of think outside their own experiences for this, just because it makes it a little bit easier to meet the requirements of the assignment. And also it makes it a little bit easier to get some criticism for it as well. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's fine if you want to base things on stuff that's happened to you. However, it is expected and will be treated as fiction. So that's just something to keep in mind. So this module starts off our discussion of short stories, and we have quite a few modules that will be dealing with fiction, and so keep in mind that this is just the sort of introductory stuff. So I'm going to go over what to expect for Module 3, and then you'll get another video when we start actually writing the short stories in the next module. So I just want to show you what we're looking at here. Overview, information, and then the chapter reading is writing the short story, and so you want to read through that entire chapter. And I also have some PowerPoint video on how to just write a short story in general, kind of help you out. It's pretty generic, not specific to any of the assignments, but it kind of helps you get started there. And then you're going to take the quiz, so that'll be the second of our chapter quizzes. You'll take 4 chapter quizzes, and then you have the short story collection. So the important thing here is we are writing 3 short stories that you will turn in at some point between now and March 6th. You can work on them in any order, but this is kind of the order that I recommend, just because the point of view short story tends to be a little bit easier for students to write. The energy short story, it tends to be a little bit more difficult. And so if you're going in the order that I have them listed, you should hopefully be able to kind of build up those skills. And by the time you get to the energy short story, you've got some basis for how you want to construct it. So that's how I recommend doing it. However, if you feel inspired and want to start with a character story first or something, that's fine. You want to pick at least one of these stories to start right away. So you should be writing it during this module, because in the next module you will be submitting it to the workshop assignment. And in order to be able to complete the workshop, you have to submit it on time. So you want to be doing one of these 3. These are links here that will take you to the page, or you can just scroll through. So this is the point of view short story assignment. And all of the assignments are roughly the same. Like, they need to be at least 500 words. This one, though, I want you to try to get less than 2,000. So we're not, it's not supposed to be really long, particularly if you're using something like a fairy tale, because if you're using a fairy tale, then we don't want your version to be longer than the original version. So you want to be keeping it fairly short. So the point of view short story, the objective is to write a well-known story from the perspective of the bad guy, and the main thing that you're working on is trying to justify the character's actions. So justify why it is that they're so bad. We've seen several actually movies come out very recently that have explored this idea from the villain viewpoint, and how they're just misunderstood or something. So it's really interesting way to look at a well-known story. I've had a lot of different stories that have been chosen for this one. Most students choose a fairy tale or something because it's so easy. It doesn't really matter which version of the fairy tale that you use, but you want to be consistent with the original as much as possible. The only challenge is if you choose a villain who dies at the end, trying to figure out how to explain that that they're dying from a first-person perspective. It doesn't need to be written in the first person, which means it's from their perspective, so it's their internal viewpoint. So sometimes you have to kind of cut the story off before they die, because it's hard to describe death in first person. So anyway, that's what the objective of this first one. The second, so that's the story that's a little bit more restricted. The second and third stories are a little bit more open. Just we're practicing different elements. So in the character short story, you have to have at least 2 characters and with an antagonist, at least one round, one flat, and antagonist. And so that's the restriction there. And then there's some details of them. So we're practicing use of characters. And then the energy story is more about the ending, because we want to twist end. And there are lots of good examples. Most short stories that are famous, you think of The Lottery or something, there's a lot of good stories that have the twist to them. So that's what you want to be thinking about is how can you upend what we're expecting. So we kind of have this ending that we're picturing in our head as the audience, and then you just suddenly left turn and it's something completely different. So that's the idea with this one, is to build up that energy, lots of tension and suspense, and then completely different from what we're expecting. So those are the 3 stories. You'll want to start working on one of them right away, like I said, because you're going to be submitting it to the next module, to our workshop. The other thing that you're going to do in this unit, so you get the quiz, you start working on a story, and then you're going to do some practice. And this is just elements practice, just to get you started, creative ideas. And so you're going to pick 3 of these and write out a scene for them, or however you want to do it. And so this type of assignment is solely to get you writing creatively. It is not intended to result in a full-fledged story. It's just stuff to practice some of these techniques. And so you'll just pick the 3 that you like the most and write something out for them. You can, preferably you'd upload them all in one file. So you just type them all in one file and submit them like this, and or you can do them all separately if you need to. But that is that assignment there, and I'll give you some feedback on just kind of how you're doing, what you think, how you're doing with those techniques and that kind of thing. And then of course the self-assessment quiz, as we have been doing so far, which most of you seem to have gotten the hang of. So if you're having issues with the class, be sure to send me an email. This is kind of a different way of going through an online class. And so if you're confused at all, especially about the grading, be sure to let me know. Otherwise, this is just the first taste of short stories. We will be getting into a lot more information as we go through the next few modules. And so be expecting them to, it'll be just a little while before I open up the next one, because I want you concentrating on just these assignments right now. So when that's over with, you'll be able to see the next, and the next couple will start to open up together. So I'll be doing another video for that. So if you're having any trouble, let me know.